Welcome to another episode of So It's Not Just Me, where we talk to everyday people about things that happen in their lives, what they do for their mental health, and just how their day to day is more than anything. Today, I am super excited. So, anyone who knows me knows that I'm literally dragging all of my family onto this podcast right now. And over the next few weeks and months, you're going to see a lot of my family. However, what you might not know is the guest that I have today was the very, very first podcast I recorded, but it didn't work. So I was still trying it out, working out what I was going to do, and I recorded on Zoom, which did not work. So, with that, I would like to proudly introduce you all to today's guest, Rachel. Rachel,
Hi.
would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rachel, live in the UK, I'm 41 and I'm a police officer.
I forgot you was 41. I'm sorry. um,
Ancient.
oh my God, you're so old.
Feel it.
So Rachel is a police officer, and that's what we're going to talk about today to start with, and go through a few things. So excuse me, do you want to tell us a little bit what led to you becoming a police officer, why you chose that path, and
Yeah,
go from
it,
there?
it wasn't my initial choice of job when I left university. Initially, I wanted to go into the military because there was a role that I could use my degree in. So that was the original plan, but that didn't quite work out. And I knew I didn't want an office job. I knew I didn't want something where I'd be sat doing the same things every day. I needed something a bit more than that. And yeah, it just kind of happened, really. Although it didn't quite run as smoothly as I hoped because I didn't start off doing this role. I ended up doing something else for a little bit. But yeah, it all came good in the end.
How long have you been doing it now in total?
15 years. It was 15 years last month.
Wow,
Time
I didn't realize
flies.
it was so long.
Yeah, time flies.
What was the initial role that you started, and what is it that you're doing now?
So when I applied to do this role as a police constable, and I went through the recruitment process, but it was a time where there was limited recruiting,
Right.
and I got through all of the tests that you have to do because there's various stages that you have to go through in the recruitment, and they offered me a civilian role instead, which I didn't want to do, and I was a bit miffed at first when they contacted me and offered me that because it's not what I applied to do. If I'd wanted to do that role, I'd have applied to do that role. But I kind of had to think about it, and I thought, well, at least if I take on that role for a little bit of time, I'll be the first to hear about when they do start recruiting again, and I'll be in a good position to apply again. So yeah, so I was a police community support officer for a little while, and then they opened the recruitment again, and I went for it and got in.
Nice.
So
What is like I know you said every day is kind of different, but what's like a typical, or if you had like a brief bullet point job description of your role now, what would that include?
it's really hard to say, to be honest, with the role because it's frontline. So
Right.
you are at the beck and call of the radio and the command centre. So you can have days where there's not really much going on in terms of emergency incidents. So you can have days where you may be out patrolling, or if we carry a workbook, so we carry slow time jobs, if you like, things that aren't high priority, things that we can do in our own time. So we might go out and do that. But then you can have days where you are job to job to job and you don't
Right.
stop. And yeah, you never can tell what you're going to walk into from day to day. Sometimes you could be on a bed watch. So if somebody's arrested and they've got injuries and they have to go to hospital, and because they're under arrest, they have to be accompanied. So if it's something that needs treatment, you could be in there hours. You could be in there for the whole shift.
Right.
So you
Okay.
just never know what you're walking into.
Has being in the police force changed how you see people? Like before you was in there, did you have like a different kind of judgment of people compared to how you see them now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Yeah. I think some of the incidents that we deal with are, I wonder why we deal with them, to be honest, because it just feels like it shouldn't be for us to deal with.
Right.
Just silly things like, oh, they called me names on social media or whatever. I just think, do you really need us there to tell you how to behave?
How to be an adult.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. People arguing amongst themselves over daft things as well. I don't understand why sometimes people can't just behave themselves or can't just sort it out amongst themselves why they need us. Sometimes it gets a bit frustrating. So yeah, I think I have less tolerance for stupid people nowadays. Can I say
I
that?
would be useless because I have zero tolerance right now anyway. So
Yeah,
if I would be useless.
I think sometimes I think doing this job and dealing with some of the things that we do deal with, the serious incidents, I do think sometimes we have a tendency to maybe play down things that other people get upset about or that get annoyed or angry about. I think
Right.
sometimes we think, oh, that's trivial, why are you getting upset about that? And I think sometimes we can be a bit flippant to other people. So I don't think that's always a good thing. But then sometimes some people need to be told that, don't they? You know, so I know I do. Sometimes I worry if you start worrying about something really daft. Sometimes you just need someone to say, "Really, is that all you've got to worry about? Get a grip."
The biggest thing right now.
Yeah,
And I guess sometimes you don't know that person's mindset or what's going on other
yeah,
than like the bigger picture involved.
yeah,
And sometimes they think that this small minute thing is the biggest thing when it's not.
yeah,
When if they look at the bigger picture,
yeah.
it's something much smaller as
And
well.
sometimes we have a tendency to look at it and say, "Really, is that all you've got to worry about?" Without knowing that there might be other things at play. So, I think that's why the job's interesting because nothing's ever as it seems. A
Right.
lot of the time we'll have an incident reported to us and our incident log will say this has happened and that's happened and there's 50 people fighting in the street or something, and then you get there and there's maybe two people having handbags at dawn, and
Right.
it's not. So there is that
To be
side of
fair,
it
I
as well.
think that I would rather turn up to 2 people handbags at dawn than 50 people.
Yeah, same. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting because, like I say, it's not always as it seems. So it's trying to get to the bottom of things and trying to figure out what's really going on and what's really happening.
What do you think, the hardest part of your job is? Whether it's the job or balancing things or what?
There's obviously some of the things that we deal with and some of the things that we see are hard, and
Yes.
it's the aftermath of that I think is the hard thing, because you put your game face on and you get on with it and you do what you need to do, and then it's afterwards when the dust's settled and you think about it that can be difficult to process sometimes.
Right.
The shifts can be difficult when you're tired and you don't sleep very well in between night shifts, for example, and then you've got to get up and you've got to go in and do it all over again, and that can be
Right.
hard work. And yeah, the balance in it at times as well can be difficult because you can't get leave at the drop of a hat if for an event. So sometimes you do miss out on things, and that's that can be tough, especially when
Yes.
it's family things, birthdays, events, bits and pieces like that. There are occasions where we do miss out. So we have to be super organised and try and plan ahead as much as we can to try and limit that. But it
Yes.
doesn't
Yeah.
always work out. Things happen spontaneously sometimes, and it's not as flexible that where we can say, oh well, I'm just going to pop out for a couple of hours. I'll be back in a bit.
You can't do that.
We can't do that.
Yeah. Obviously, I know your family background, so I know that you've got quite a lot of support if you need it, but
Yeah.
do you also get a lot of support from the, from work? Do your officers, your I don't know what your next in line is, do they give you a lot of support when you need it?
There's a lot more now around than there ever used to be,
Right.
and obviously that's a great thing. There's there's quite a few processes in place where if we deal with a traumatic incident, we have the TRIM process, which is trauma risk management.
Yes.
And if we go to a particularly traumatic incident, we have a TRIM assessment, and that allows the assessor to decide whether we need immediate support or whether to see what they can put in place for us and when it needs to be put in place, if that makes sense. So they look at anxiety levels and depression levels and things like that at the time when you have your assessment, and then they look to see whether it's something that, can you wait a week? Does it need to be now? Are you really suffering? Do we need to do something immediately? Are you at risk? Are you a risk to yourself or other people? Kind of thing. So that's good. There's Oscar Kilo, which is the police mental health,
Okay.
and there's a website for it. There's all sorts of information, resources, signposting, things like that, which is great. And we also have police treatment centres as well, which historically used to be for physical injuries, but nowadays we have a wellbeing course as well that you can do,
Oh,
which is brilliant. So you have counselling, you do all sorts of different activities to help you de-stress. You have lessons about it, so it's kind of knowing the mechanisms of stress and how you can manage it, what you can do, what's going on in your body, so that if you feel like you're getting stressed, you know what's happening, and then you can sort of look to see, how can I manage that? How can I lower my cortisol levels, the stress hormone in your body? What can I do? What is going to de-stress me? And then you can do, well, I've been to the police treatment centre, so to do the psychological wellbeing course, you do all sorts of other activities like yoga and Tai Chi, and complementary therapies as well, massages, Reiki. Is that
oh
how you
yeah,
say
yeah.
it? Did I say that right?
I think so.
Reflexology, all sorts of different bits and pieces like that. So you can find things that help you that maybe you'd never considered before. So that's another good thing that's in place nowadays. So yeah, I
Is
think
is that all covered by the police force as well?
I think Oscar Kilo is a charity, I believe.
Right. Okay.
The police treatment centres, we pay a subscription for that, and it is a charity as well, the police treatment centres. But yeah, I pay every month into it every month, to access it. But yeah, they I think you do have to pay into it to be able to use the facilities. I don't think there's a way around it with that. But
Right.
so it is funded by us, but not by the police force and the government, if you like.
Right. Okay. But it's still definitely beneficial and
100%.
helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, how often do they then check in with you after, just because you've been to a traumatic
Hmm.
event or accident or whatever it may be? I don't want to go into too much details about any of the traumatic things you've seen, because I
Yeah,
know that it's difficult.
yeah.
But if you did say see or have to deal with a traumatic event, how often do they check in with you after that, other than like the
Um,
risk assessment that they do at the time?
I mean,
Or does that depend on the level?
the trim assessment itself, it doesn't happen straight away because it gives you an opportunity to kind of have a think, process what's happened, and some people obviously don't feel like they need to have an assessment. So you don't, just because your supervision might have put you forward for it, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take the opportunity to use it. If you feel like you don't need it, you don't have to.
Right.
But I'm trying to think. I think, is it about 72 hours after the event they try and organise your trim assessment, so that you've had a bit of a chance to think about it and see how you feel and see if it settles, and then you have another one a couple of weeks later to see how you're getting on, and if you've not already accessed any other treatment or services, because they can put you in touch with counsellors and and different services like that, support services. If you decided not to at that point, they check in with you again later on and say, right, how are you feeling now? Has it
Right.
settled? Are you okay? Do you need anything further? So, and then obviously if you are referred on for treatment, whether that be CBT or there's another one, EMDR. Don't know if you've
I
ever
don't
heard
know.
of that. It's to do with eye movement and recounting
Okay.
the incident. So I'm not very knowledgeable on that one.
Is
I've
this
never
where
experienced that.
if your eyes are moving really quick, then it's not um it's on your mind too much, or it's like more you're more focused on it, whereas if you're slow moving, you're more relaxed about it or something?
I've no idea. I'll be honest. I've never I've never been through the process of that one, so I'm not entirely sure. But
Right.
I know it is a treatment that they offer, and I'm told it does really help with the aftermath. But yeah, sorry, I'm not,
No,
I'm
no,
not
it's
really
fine.
very knowledgeable on that one.
It's like when they say detectives look at you to see which way your eyes are going, and
Yeah,
if you're thinking a certain telling of the truth, it's one way. If you're lying, it's the other. I don't know if that's like mentally, if you're stressed out, your eyes are darting around more because you're thinking and you've got so much
yeah,
on your mind still. Whereas if you're relaxed and you're not thinking as much, your eyes might settle a little bit.
maybe. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I'm I'm going to do some reading on that one because I'm not.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely have to
It's
find out.
interesting. I'm interested in how it works and how it helps, but
Yes,
I'm told it does. So
I'm not very good with eye contact anyway, so if I ever did anything, like one on one, I'm not too bad. But sometimes if I'm thinking about something, like if you're talking to me, I'll sit and watch, like I'll be concentrating on your face.
mhm.
But the second I start to talk, especially like when I'm in like, because I go to counseling sessions, when I go to my counseling sessions, if I'm sat talking to my therapist, I'm thinking about what I'm saying, so
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like, I'm not looking directly at you, but it's not because I'm lying or because I'm uh, I don't know. I can't keep eye focus when I'm one
I
on one
think it's
telling somebody.
sometimes being self-conscious as well, isn't it? When you,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
if there's more than just one other person that you're speaking to. I think sometimes it's
Like
that as
people
well. How
looking at me
comfortable you
anyway.
are. Yeah.
I don't know why I do podcasts sometimes because I I'm not very good with big crowds of people, but my favorite place is Disney World, and I don't like looking at myself or people looking at me, but I love doing the podcast. It's so strange.
I suppose it doesn't feel like loads of people are looking at you though, does it? Because it's just me and you
No,
talking.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I would love a psychotherapist or something to get in my brain and figure out how it works because it doesn't make any sense.
I dread to think what they'd find if they delved into mine.
It'd be great fun. We could write a full book on both
Oh,
of us.
it'd be interesting, that's for sure.
It would be fun. Um, so I hope you don't mind me mentioning this. If you don't like it, I can take it out of the podcast. It's fine. It's no big deal. Um, but you have a son.
Yes.
So how did becoming a parent change, or did it change anything being in the police force as well? Did that?
Yeah. Oh,
How did
yeah.
that go?
Yeah, it did, big time. I think you are more aware of the incidents that you go into and the potential danger because you want to be around for them. You don't want
Yeah.
to put yourself in a situation where you can get hurt or worse because you want to go home. Obviously, everybody wants to go home at the end of the shift, but I suppose when it's just you on your own, it's a bit different. You don't. I think I have a more heightened sense of awareness and danger nowadays because I know that obviously he's at home and I don't want to not go home to him.
Yeah.
So I think there is that. I think I am a lot more measured and a lot more cautious in how I deal with situations nowadays than I ever was. Um, yeah, it definitely changes your mindset, and I think I'm a more emotional person nowadays. I think as well.
Right.
So I think when I do deal with more emotive incidents, I do think it affects me more nowadays. I've always been an empath, and I know I always have been. I always put myself in people's shoes and think how they'd feel, and then obviously you act according to how you would want somebody to behave towards you if you were in that situation. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Oh, it does.
Um,
Yeah.
But I think nowadays, and I said this when I had counselling, I am an emotional sponge, and if I go to an incident and people are upset, then I feel like I sort of take some of that on. And the problem I have when I come away from those incidents is I don't always know how to disassociate myself from that, if that makes sense. It's not my
Yeah.
thoughts and feelings and not my emotions, but I think I take some of that on to a
Yes.
degree. But I know I do it, and I think that's the first step in learning how to deal with it and overcome something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I know I do it. It's just working out how to deal with that and not do it, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
Oh, no, it does. I had
Yeah.
something somewhat similar, obviously, with the traumas that I've been going through over the last 6 months. Somebody had said to me, "Hey, there's a group that have all gone through the same thing. Why don't you join it?" And I said, "I can't." For the same reason you said, I'm an
Yeah.
emotional sponge. And I don't want my thing is that I will forget about looking after myself and look
Yeah.
after them.
Yeah.
Um, so I wouldn't look after myself, and I still need time to deal with what I'm going through.
Absolutely.
So I can't go on, but I'm able to put that barrier in place and put that boundary there of
Yeah.
I'm not going to this voluntary group
Yeah.
because it's not good for me. I guess that's something you can't really do because that's your job.
Yeah. It is difficult sometimes, and it's not necessarily at the time when it affects you. It's afterwards when you think about it, you stop and you reflect on. And I do reflect on things a lot. That's
Right.
just what I'm like. That's just what I do. And I think I overthink things sometimes, and I need to not do that sometimes as well, because I don't think that
Yes.
helps. Overthinking
Yes.
and reflecting and going over it and over it and over it. But I know I do it. I know it maybe doesn't help. I'm working on it.
But knowing
That's
that you do it so that you
Yeah,
know what you need to work on is that first step, and that's really, really
absolutely,
good
yeah.
that you can recognize it.
And I think
So that's a huge
there
thing.
is that attitude still in some ways that we're police officers. We shouldn't let it bother us, or let some things bother us that do bother us, but it does. We're human at the
We're
end of the day. We're
human,
not
yeah.
robots. But I think sometimes there is that whole. As much as things have progressed and as much as things are a hell of a lot better in terms of support nowadays and accessing support and asking for it, I do think there still is that attitude of we everybody looks to us when there's a problem, when there's something going on. So we shouldn't break. We should be the ones that are standing there strong, and we're the ones who should be dealing with it. But there's only so much you can
There's only
take
so much
on
you
before
can
you
take.
have to step away from it and say, no, I'm sorry, I need some
Yes.
help. So yeah, it yeah you, I suppose it's one of them. You don't want to be seen as being weak in a job like that.
But I don't think that weakness is a bad I don't think it's weakness
No,
anyway.
I
I think
don't
it's,
either.
and I don't think it's a bad thing to have a weakness or a flaw or
No,
be emotional. I
but
don't think that is a weakness.
I think it's a strength to be able to say no. That's enough now. I've
Yes.
I need some help now. I need some support now. I've gone on for long enough trying to battle
Yes.
on, and it's not working for me. I'm suffering now.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
So, your partner, other than being a goddamn Yankees fan, seems wonderful. Um, and I do tell him he seems wonderful. I've not met him yet. Obviously, we just have our Yankees banter. But he's also in the police force.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect home life when you're both in such a high pressure job and have so much going on? How do you help each other, or do you not? Do you kind of once you're through the door, that's it? We do not talk about work, or how does that work?
No, we're we're very lucky that we have a lot of other interests in common out of work,
Right.
and whilst it's not a rule of as soon as we walk through the door, that's it, we don't mention work. Sometimes we do talk about bits and pieces, but it's not the only thing that we have in common. So very much tends to take a back seat because we have all sorts of other things that we
That's
like
good.
to do together and that we like to talk about. So, in terms of if either of us have been to one of those jobs where it's affected us, I think it's a good thing that we both do the same job because it means that we understand how the other one might be feeling and understand what we might be able to do to help the other.
Right.
I think it's a good thing for us. Some people like to have that separation of not having to talk work, but we're lucky in that we don't have to talk about work at home.
Right.
We have plenty of other things that we can talk about, and you know, it's not the only thing that we have in common. So it's good.
That's
But
really good.
yeah, we work together on the same shift, so we know what jobs each other's been to if we're both at work. So we know what kind of to expect
Right.
if there has been one that's been not very
A bit
nice.
difficult. Yeah. We have it's kind of new, this strict rule that we have.
Hmm.
By new, I mean like within the last year.
Yeah,
Um, we will give each other an hour when we get home from work to
yeah,
talk about anything that's gone off at work. After that, unless it's I need to do this work thing right now and what do you think?
yeah.
We do not talk about work. That's
Hmm.
we both he hasn't really got a stressful job. It's just sometimes it can be, but it's not
Yeah.
overly. My job is quite stressful, especially right now because it's tax season.
Hmm.
So, and we're going through like a lot of changes at work. So he doesn't need to have the extra stress. I don't want to talk about the extra stress. So
Yeah,
that's one of the things that we've put in place is we give ourselves an hour. After
yeah,
that, we can talk about whatever you want. I don't care what it is, but it's not allowed to be work.
yeah.
And
Fair
that
enough.
really works for us. That works
Yeah.
because I don't understand what he does. He doesn't really understand what I do. So, I mean, he gets it, but his is so complicated that I don't my eyes glaze over. So, I don't I don't listen. Like, I'd listen to him, and then if he talks more than an hour, I've stopped. I'm not listening. I'm not.
But at least
So,
it gives him a chance to get it off his chest, whatever he wants to say, eh?
yeah, yeah. And he's
And
very
you.
good at doing that. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
good. It works. So, going back to you and your partner,
Hmm.
um, doing things other than the police force, one of the things that I absolutely love is seeing all the pictures that you put on from your little adventures. So I'm guessing that's something that you guys do to help with your mental health, to keep you
Yes.
grounded, to keep things.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain those a little bit for us?
Yeah. So we love hiking. We like exploring. We live about an hour away from the Peak District.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah.
Give or
45
take.
minutes to an hour away from the Peak District. So when we're not at work, if kids are at school, etc., it's close enough that we can go and have a walk if we want to, which is nice. We go up
Yes.
to the Lake District a fair bit. We go exploring, climbing up the hills and mountains there, which is great. And I love waterfalls, so swimming in them, taking photos of them. The swimming bit is a relatively new thing, but yeah, cold water has been a bit of a game changer really for us, if I'm
Yeah.
honest. Um, Obviously, we go and swim in the lakes as well because you're in the Lake District, so why would you not? But
Yeah.
yeah, waterfalls. I'm a bit obsessed finding them, taking photos of them, and now swimming in them. So, but yeah, I find it really relaxing, and a lot of the time we go on our walks and we we go and do the popular ones, Helvellyn, Blencathra, that sort of thing. But it's also nice because quite often we'll take ourselves off and we'll go somewhere where it's not as busy, and we can go on a walk on a day and we count on one hand the number of people that we bump into on the walk, so that's
Right.
nice.
That's
I
cool.
think when you deal with people in the course of your job, it's nice to not have to deal with people when you're not in work.
Yeah, I 100% get that.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. Mine's answering the phone. When I answer the phone a lot or answer emails a lot at work,
yeah.
oh, it's great to just that's like so much peaceful. The amount of people that I've spoke to and we have said the best thing is getting out in nature, like
Fresh
being
air.
fresh
is
air,
the
going for a
best
walk,
thing.
being at the beach, going to the park.
Yeah, just
It's
being outside, I
yeah,
think.
it's one of the best things. And when I'm having a really, really bad day, I know that I can just go stand on the beach or stand on the grass, just barefoot there, and
Yeah,
just like reconnect myself and just get rid of everything. And
yeah.
I'm not one of these hippie peoples who needs to go and hug a tree. That's not me.
No,
Um,
same, but
but being with nature is just that fresh air is just
yeah.
so nice, and there's no fresh air here right now. It is just humidity, but it is.
It's been really warm here actually the last week or two,
Oh, has
which has been
it?
nice. Yeah, it's been nice. It makes a change. Um, Thankfully, we don't have the humidity. I'm not sure I'd cope with that. I'm not sure my hair would cope with that either.
So I'm sat right now, and I'm not going to show you because it's ridiculous, but I have the AC that's up in the corner here blowing down
Hmm.
on me. I have two fans, one either side, and I have one on my desk and this ceiling fan, because it is so warm right now that I
Mm,
just cannot get
can't
cool.
cope. I'm not sure I
It's
could cope with that.
it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and it's not even summer yet. What would so do you take the kids with you as well? Because I know
Yeah, yeah.
your partner
As
has
much as
kids as
yeah, as
well.
much as we can. Yeah, we've just spent 5 days up in the Lake District with the kids, so getting them out and about, which is nice. They went wild swimming as well, which was awesome. So
That's
we
really
did,
cool.
yeah, we did some. We've done a few walks with them actually. So last year we took them along Striding Edge up onto Helvellyn and then back down Swirl Edge, which that was exciting, and they loved it as
Nice.
well because it was a bit not dangerous. It can be if you don't approach it correctly, but it was one of the more exciting and I don't even want to say risky because obviously we
You don't
had
put your kids in
we had the
danger.
safety brief with them before we went and we said, you know, this is serious. People have died on Helvellyn crossing
Yes,
Striding Edge. You know, so it is a serious walk, but they loved it. They thought it was great, and the sense of
of
achievement as
course.
well when we got up the top and they looked back and they were like, "Wow, we've climbed up there. We walked along there."
Yeah.
Um,
I think, do you know what? I was thinking earlier, the most dangerous thing I've ever done was with you.
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh God.
And I don't know, if you remember that. You will remember this. You will. You know, when I lived in Portsmouth, Southampton kind of area, and we
Yeah,
went fossil hunting where did we go fossil hunting?
we went to Durdle Door
Yes.
and we went to oh God, what was the other one?
It's the Jurassic Coast, isn't it, that we went to, but I can't
Yes.
remember the exact area.
Oh,
And
there
we
was
found
another
some really
beach.
cool
Yeah,
hostels.
we did. There was another beach we went to, wasn't there? And I can't remember
Yeah.
what it was called. It'll come
But
back to me. That's going to really bug me now.
I'm sorry. However, Rachel nearly killed me. I don't know if you can remember. Rachel was so obsessed with a waterfall that she saw that she didn't notice the tide coming in.
Oh yeah, that was
And
down
we,
the other end of the beach, wasn't it?
yes,
Yeah, I
and
do
we
remember
were
that.
pretty much trapped. We had to climb over all these piles of God knows what,
Yes, I do remember
and
that.
we nearly got washed to sea.
No one
So
died though.
I was soaking wet, wet past my underwear, all the way up, no change of clothes, and Rachel nearly killed me. So if anyone ever asks, that's the scariest, most dangerous thing I've ever done.
You were fully immersed in nature that day, for sure.
Hated every minute of it.
Type two
Hated
fun.
no, I loved it until I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to die."
Yeah, but you didn't. It was
We
fine.
didn't. It was
It's
great fun.
fine.
It was great. I think I did throw away the whole outfit that I was wearing because it was ruined, but it's okay. It's
Whoops.
okay. Yeah. Nature can be fun, it can be dangerous, it's as long as you know what you're doing,
Yeah,
it's all
as long
fine.
as you respect it.
Yeah. Speaking of dangerous, to me this is really dangerous, I don't know if it is or not, but didn't you climb the big mountain?
Which
Did you
one?
did you do Kilimanjaro?
No, I haven't yet. It's on the
Which
list.
one which one
We've
did you
been to
do?
Everest Base Camp,
Everest.
and we last year we went. No, not last year. It was the year before, I think. Oh God, I can't remember. I'm all mixed up now. No, it was 2023.
Right.
We climbed Mount Toubkal. in Morocco, which is the highest peak in the Atlas in northern
Nice.
Africa. I really do want to climb Killy though. That would be amazing.
I thought you had
It's,
already.
no,
Maybe
it's
I've just
definitely
been.
on the list. It's definitely on the list. So, and Machu Picchu,
Yes. I'm
that's
saying
happening.
yes, like I'm interested in I have no interest in climbing any of these mountains. So everyone is well aware it's not my thing. A beach day is enough nature for me. So yeah,
Well, that's
climbing mountains not.
wild swimming, getting out and about in it, isn't it? I wouldn't
Yeah.
probably go swimming in lakes and rivers near you though.
Oh no, we have a gator outside.
Oh God.
Yeah, we discovered it this week. It's in the so I live on a lake, and there's a gator in the lake, which is no surprise because it's Florida. That's where they live.
That's
But
what happens, yeah.
I could
Oh, good luck
pretend it
with that
wasn't
one.
there before.
Have you given it a name yet?
I've not physically seen it. I just know it's there. We've had a warning, so until I see it, I don't know what it looks like yet. I don't know if it's a little one or a big one.
Keep me posted when you've
I will. I
decided on
will.
a name.
What's a good gator name? I don't know. So this doesn't have to necessarily relate to the police force, but
Mhm.
what what advice do you have for any like working parent who has a high stress job to keep that balance and um happy home life?
Mhm. Make sure that you have time for you and don't feel guilty about having time for you. I think that's been a big learning curve for me
Right.
because, and you need to take this on board as well.
Yes, ma'am.
I think as a parent, you spend so much time running around after the kids, making sure they're okay, that there is and then obviously going to work and whatever you do in your job. Obviously, we deal with people. Some people who are maybe not in a good place, others that are victims of crime, that need looking after. And I think there's a tendency to neglect yourself sometimes. And for me, I think if you're not firing on all cylinders and you're not well and you're not happy, how can you then look after somebody else?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's not selfish taking time for yourself to do something that you enjoy or that helps you to reset. It's a good
yeah,
thing because then you're in a better position to look after others if you need to.
yeah. No, I like that. It's very true.
Mm.
It's very important to remember that if you're not
Yeah.
right, then nothing's going to be right that you do.
I think as a parent there is a tendency to think that if your kids aren't 100% the focus all of the time, then you're a bad parent or something, or you're not doing a good enough job. But you need to be all right as well. And
Yeah,
kids know if you're not all right as well. That's another thing, and then they worry about you, and it's putting stress on them. So
yeah. That's what I was going to ask actually. How do the kids view your job? Like, do they think it's something scary? Do they think it's dangerous, or do they see, like my niece who is in England, she loves the police because she thinks, they're there to look after her and there to help her and things, but she isn't living with a parent who's in the police force. So
yeah,
how do the kids take that on board?
to be honest, we don't we try and shield them a lot from things. They are getting old. They are getting older now, so they know if we're not all right, if something's bothering us, if we're upset about something. They can obviously tell if there's something going on with us, and
Right,
if we need to tell them, give them a heads up that we've had a difficult day, we've had a difficult week or whatever, just bear with us kind of thing. We don't go into specifics with them because they don't need to know and they don't need to worry that much. We do try and shield them from a lot of it, but
right.
they are a lot more aware of what goes on in the world nowadays because they're all getting older, so there's only so much you can do. But I think sometimes I think it's exciting
Right.
because I went on my taser course last week and they were like, "Oh wow, tasers, that's awesome." So there's a bit of that, and I think sometimes there's a bit of, if, for example, I mean, thankfully, touch wood, it's not happened for a while, but I've been injured on duty before. So obviously, if you're hurt, you're having time off work, you explain that, I've got an injury, I'm not, this is happened at work sort of thing. I think sometimes they do worry a little bit, but we try not to put that on them. We try not to make a big deal of it because we don't want them to worry. We don't want them to think, oh, is mum and dad, are they coming home later?
Right.
Are they dealing with this? They know we deal with naughty people, and we try not to be too specific on what those naughty people might have done or why we might be dealing with them and what we might do with them, kind of thing. So we try and keep it as light as we can, really.
Do they ever catch like do they ever see like police dramas or anything like that on the TV and you have to explain to them it's not always like this?
Sometimes,
That's
I mean,
exaggerated.
to be honest, we don't really watch them that much because
Right.
it's we're not at work.
Right.
So we did watch one a couple of weeks ago because some of our colleagues were on it
Oh,
and we
okay.
wanted to see. So that was quite fun. Well, I thought it was. He didn't so much. But we don't really watch things like police interceptors and stuff like that. It's not really something that is on
Right.
when we're at home. So obviously you can't stop them when they're elsewhere, what they're watching and what they're seeing. But yeah, sometimes there have been occasions where we've had to sort of explain, it's not really like that. That doesn't happen very often, or it's not as simple as that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try not to. We don't. I suppose when we're away from work, it's nice to not be reminded of it all the
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
police dramas and things like that, it's not.
It's
It's
not your
not
thing.
something that no. Plus each force does things differently, so there's that tendency to, well, I wouldn't have done that. I'd have done it like this, and just no, just no, just don't need that on our days off.
Do you think you've learned anything about yourself since becoming a policewoman?
Yeah, I think I think I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was, but I think I'm also a lot more stubborn than I thought I was
Right.
because it's that whole thing of asking for help sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, last few years in work and out of work, I've dealt with a lot.
Yes.
And I think it got to a point where I dealt with a particularly not very nice incident. And I think that was really the straw that broke the camel's back, if you like. And I think that was the point where I thought, actually, maybe I'm not handling this life stuff as well as maybe I thought I was. And it's also that thing of just because you're okay with it then doesn't mean that you're always going to be okay with it. Sometimes it comes back to bite you later on if you've not dealt with it there and then. And I think there was a
Yes.
lot of things. I think when I had the conversation with my counsellor about everything that I'd been through over the last sort of, I don't know, 5-6 years or whatever, we likened it to you have something happen in your life or at work or whatever, and you get through it and then you put it in a box and think, I'll put that on the shelf and I'll deal with that later on. And that's fine until the point where the shelves start creaking and bowing, and then you get to a stage where you have to deal with it because otherwise the shelves are going to come crashing down, and that's the point where you have a breakdown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I've carried a lot over the last few years, and I think you do have to get to a point where you realise that you can't keep doing that and you have to do something about it. And it's hard facing things that you think you've dealt with and you think you're okay with, going back and revisiting them again and living through them again. But I think it makes you stronger for doing that and knowing that you have dealt with them and that you're okay with it and making your peace with it and moving on. So I try not to keep hold of things nowadays. That's something that I've learned that it's okay to let things go. You don't have to hold on to things.
Yeah.
And I think you have to do that for your own peace of mind sometimes. It's okay to be angry about a situation, but be angry about it and then move on.
Yeah.
It's not worth carrying it around with you. It gets heavy. It's not worth it.
What are you most proud of when you look back at everything that you've been through?
That I'm still here and relatively sane.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, sort of. Yeah, I think the it would be easy to be bitter and twisted about some things that you deal with, personal life and work
Yeah,
life. Things
yeah,
happen, people have agendas, you deal with horrible people complain about you, they try and get you into trouble. That, unfortunately, that's the nature of the job sometimes. It would be easy to be angry and hold a grudge and what have you, and probably in the past I probably would have done, but I think I've mellowed in my old age, and I think now I can just, I think it's knowing when to quit, knowing when to move on.
yeah,
So I think, yeah, just being able to be happier, not carrying around stuff, knowing when to quit, knowing when to walk away. I think yeah, you've got to look after yourself, haven't you?
yeah.
And I think that's been a big, a big lesson for me.
Good, good. Do you have anything you want to add before I wrap up?
No, I think
We've covered a
pretty,
lot.
we have, haven't we? We've covered
Yeah,
a hell of a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. Don't want it to be doom and gloom when you're talking about trauma and dealing with things like that, because no one needs to hear that. No one needs to be
No,
brought down by that. But I
no.
suppose it's one of them where whatever you are going through, it's not going to last forever. It is
No.
temporary. And sometimes it's how you look at it. Sometimes you have to change your perspective on it and look at it a different way
Yeah,
in order to find a way forward. Sometimes it's not quite as simple as doing the same things that you've always done before. Sometimes you need to look outside the box and think outside the box.
yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you for being honest and opening up and discussing everything. I am going to put links. I'm going to get them off you as soon as we hang up. I'm going to put the links to any of the mental health sites that you have that are available in all the description boxes. So if anyone does need them, there will be. Excuse me, they will be below. Other than that, thank you so much for
No worries. Thank you.
chatting with me today.